Welcome to Antiques Academy, Tennessee, where learning history can be fun. You never know what intriguing history you might stumble over while investigating your antiques and collectibles. This is episode 2 as we continue our research into the possible provenance of this coin silver flatware made by Nathaniel Hayden between 1835 and 1838. Can we possibly find clues to identify GAT? You will never guess who this might be and the twists and turns our investigation has taken.
Has the war started?
Sir, you should have made your presence known.
In the middle of that beautiful love scene? That wouldn't have been very tactful, would it? But don't worry. Your secret is safe with me.
Sir, you are no gentleman.
And you, miss, are no lady.
Oh.
Don't think that I hold that against you. Ladies have never held any charm for me.
First you take a low common advantage of me, then you insult.
In episode 1, we learned that this silver is Southern-made antebellum silver. The silver hallmark is that of Nathaniel Hayden. This particular hallmark was used during the short period of time that Hayden was in private practice as a silversmith and jeweler in Charleston, South Carolina. Thus, we know it is 1835 to 1838. Our clues indicate G.A.T. knew silversmith Hayden and probably lived in or near Charleston in the 1835 era.
Our mystery owner, G.A.T., probably had significant wealth and was accustomed to casually using luxury items, like silver, as everyday items with little regard to the heavy wear that they might receive. These pieces have weight and are solid silver. They were expensively made at a time when silver was not easily obtained. All indications are that they were commissioned directly from the silversmith. There are 8 pieces in this set. However, they may have started life as part of a larger service. The large serving spoon and fork do not show heavy wear, only the 6 dinner forks have worn tines and show a probable pattern of everyday casual use.
When researching the 1835 resident rolls of Charleston for a GAT, it is noted that the occupations of the residents are often shown. One would think that the local farmers and trades workers could not afford silver dining utensils. And a middle-class owner would have understandably cherished the luxury items as one does an heirloom, holding them for special occasions and perhaps Sunday dinner only, thus they would show less wear on the tines. In summary, we are probably looking for a well-to-do member of Charleston, South Carolina society circa 1835 with the initials GAT. However, admittedly, we can't discount the idea that the wear we see today was caused by later owners of the items that may not have known that they were silver.
Question: which resident of 1835-era Charleston, South Carolina had the initials G.A.T. and had a lifestyle and the financial wealth that afforded the purchase of heavy coin silver flatware to use in their dining room? Additionally, these luxury items would apparently be used casually and often, with no care for their being worn out. After some research and debate, our nominee is the historical figure, the very wealthy George Alfred Trenholm, a name previously unknown to us. To our surprise, he was a somewhat notorious and historical figure in antebellum Charleston, South Carolina, both before and after the Civil War. According to the research found on the internet written by Dr. Ely Spence, Trenholm was the inspiration for the famous 1939 blockbuster movie character, Rhett Butler, created by author Margaret Mitchell. Rhett Butler is one of the 2 main characters featured in the monumental novel and then movie Gone with the Wind. Oddly enough, Gone with the Wind was written approximately 100 years after our subject coin silver items were made by Nathaniel Hayden in Charleston, South Carolina.
Dr. Spence points out several facts about Trenholm that supports the theory that Margaret Mitchell modeled her Rhett Butler character and events in her novel after the real-life behavior and exploits of George Trenholm. Dr. Spence mentions that he has brought this analysis together in his book, The Treasures of the Confederate Coast, The Real Rhett Butler and Other Revelations, Narwhal Press, copyright 1995. We recommend that you watch Gone with the Wind and read Dr. Spence's book and his article online at his website shipwrecks.com. The character similarities are numerous and convincing. In Gone with the Wind, Rhett Butler was a scoundrel, a blockade runner, and one of the wealthiest persons in Charleston before and after the Civil War. Similarly, George Alfred Trenholm was known as a blockade runner and banker and one of the wealthiest residents in the South. He lived in extreme luxury while everyone around him was struggling to survive. There was little money to be made in shipping uniforms and army shoes, and while thousands of Southern soldiers marched barefoot to battle in tattered rags, Trenholm steamers routinely used valuable cargo space to ship in silk slippers, brocades, and other non-essential luxuries to sell to the wealthy. You see a sample of this in the scene where Rhett brings Scarlett a new hat during the war.
Girls at home looking pretty.
It's so long since I had anything new.
Just as Rhett Butler, played by Clark Gable, was a dashing figure, George Trenholm is described as tall, brave, and handsome. He was a relatively obscure shipping and banking magnate from Charleston, South Carolina, who served as treasurer of the Confederacy during the last year of the Civil War. However, author Margaret Mitchell had her character, Rhett Butler, simply join the losing Confederate Army after the fall of Atlanta, to help disguise the fact that she was using Trenholm as a character source. According to Dr. Spence, today, few people are aware that he ever lived. Even fewer know he was the mastermind behind the Confederacy's successful blockade-running efforts or understand that his sense of daring, his clear thinking, and his business and political philosophies helped shape the course of the Civil War. You see Rhett abandoning Scarlett and the ill Melanie Wilkes on the road to Tara so that he can join the Confederate Army. Like Trenholm, Rhett is trying to position himself politically and socially for what he knows is coming: the defeat of the South and the risk to his wealth and social standing.
Like Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, George Trenholm was thrown in prison at the end of the war under threat of death. Both characters, Rhett and Trenholm, refused to admit to federal officials that they had any of the Confederate Treasury's money, and author Margaret Mitchell had Rhett Butler use his connections, just as Trenholm had done, to obtain pardons without ever having to admit guilt or actually pay a bribe. When teary-eyed Scarlett, who had made a dress from her curtains, visited Rhett in jail after his capture by the Union Army, she was just hoping to get his gold. In real life, George Trenholm also had a beautiful young lady visit him in jail, and the story goes that he didn't trust her with an entire suitcase filled with gold.
So, who do you think owned our coin silver flatware in Charleston, South Carolina in 1835 with the initials GAT? Could it have been the extremely wealthy George Alfred Trenholm? Please let me know your comments in the space below, especially if you have more information about Hayden Silver or if you have an item that you need help investigating. As an antiques detective and treasure hunter, we can't keep everything. See the link below and follow us on eBay.